Greetings my YouTubers, welcome back to the channel. We are here to be discussing on the new upcoming boxing game on the PlayStation 5, which will be released on the 11th October 2024. However, it was released on Steam, last year times. I cannot remember the exact date. Unfortunately, I became world ranked. I'm not currently world ranked no more, and I'm going to explain why and delve into an actual deep dive regarding the game. So I'm going to be speaking about if you guys should actually purchase the game, what's actually involved in the game, should you get it, and all these things to make you come towards a careful decision before you actually purchase the game. So before we do so, if you do tend to like this video, guys, share some support. I'm always here to be delivering these deep dives for you all. Let's tune in. Let's go. Steel City Interactive, who are the publishers of Undisputed, that's going to be released on the 11th of October, literally around the corner now. Obviously, this game came out like a year ago on Steam, and I was one of the very first to actually purchase this game. Unfortunately, I became a ranked player, and I was really happy to do so because I was waiting for a boxing game to come out. And when you just know that you're going to be really good at a game, and that's unfortunately that's what happened. However, as months went by, a lot of heavy bugs started to come into the game. A lot of disconnections started to come as well, and also there was a lot of cheating going on. And I've not really played the game since, and it's really disappointing that I've not played the game since due to them reasons, because I was actually enjoying the game. However, apparently they've made a lot of changes, and we're here to obviously delve into them things. But yeah, that's kind of like my story overall with Undisputed itself. So we're here to delve into more regarding the gameplay, the characters, the fighters to be exact, what to actually do in the game and so forth. So yeah, so that's kind of like my story with the Undisputed game so far. Will I be getting it on PlayStation? No, I will not be. However, I might bring it out, my library, to actually play it again to see if there's any changes, and maybe we can have certain updates to see if there's any changes. Right guys, so we're going to delve into the gameplay itself, the mechanics to be specific. This game is a unique game, and it's a lot different to Fight Night. A lot of people are comparing them, which is totally understandable, because they are boxing games, and we've been waiting for a boxing game for so long, to the point where people are expecting the new boxing game to be more or less the pinnacle of them, because we are on next gen consoles now. So we're expecting that. We're expecting more detailed, better overall boxing games, because obviously all the Fight Nights have come out on the PlayStation 3 all the way around them times, and they were pretty cool. So in terms of the Undisputed, I feel like it has its own twist. Let's first start off with the fluid movement. The movement's quite good. I really enjoy it. It allows you to basically focus on your boxer more in comparison to Fight Night. Whereas Fight Night, as soon as you get in that ring, you kind of gotta have more brawls with people, hit and move and make the right dodges. Like this one here, it takes its time. You can literally hit them and move back out and be more loose. And I like that stuff. I like when you take your time and you're having to think about what your opponent's going to do next and stuff like that. I feel like that stuff's pretty cool. The footwork is pretty cool as well. So when they're moving, lateral, moving to the right and moving to the left, I feel like that's pretty cool as well. Whereas Fight Night, you can literally roll the stick up and down, and they kind of give a fast left and right. This one allows you to take your time and literally dodge your opponent's punches, if that makes sense. And no discredit to Fight Night, because Fight Night's still my best fighting game of all time. But I feel like the gameplay in the Undisputed, they've done a really good job of that. And one thing I've noticed as well is a lot of characters, fighters to be specific, do have their own abilities, which is pretty cool. So with the likes of Roy Jones, where he has the high and low guard, I feel like that's pretty cool. And other fighters like Muhammad Ali as well, where you stick and move, I feel like that's pretty cool, because a lot of fighters in like Fight Night and stuff, they more or less feel the same. It doesn't matter who you be, they might have a little bit more stamina, or they can get hit a bit more, but most of them had the kind of like the same ability in terms of how they stand and stuff like that. But that's one of the things that Undisputed have done really well. They've focused on certain specific fighters that do certain specific things, and I feel like that's pretty cool, and that's what gives the Undisputed kind of like an uplift in terms of the game. So yeah, I feel like that was cool. I can honestly say that they've put a good amount of variety of fighters in there. I'm really was pleased with it, especially on day one as well. And they're still uploading fighters, which is pretty cool. You know, I can honestly say that Still Interactive are trying to make this game, you know, to be the best where it's possible. And then they're listening to people. They're listening to people in terms of what needs tweaking, what more boxes are needed. And they're doing a really pretty good job. But even from the beginning, they had fighters like, you know, the Ali's, which is more or less an essential thing to have Ali in a game. They had like both Sugar Ray Robinson and Leonard as well. They not long ago put Lomachenko. He wasn't in there straight away, but I was really happy for him to actually be in the game. This was around the time that he was obviously undefeated and whatnot. Still a great fighter, but obviously people are trying to discredit him because of the loss he had. But he did well against Haney, and in my opinion, he beat Haney. Also, Joe Louis, one of my favorite boxers of all time, heavyweight, and I can honestly say that he plays exactly how Joe Louis does fighting in real life. Also Rocky Marciano. You know, the list can go on. I can list off many boxers that they've put in this game. You know, Terence Crawford as well, even though I feel like Terence Crawford needs to be enhanced. You know, it's good signs. You know, these are actually licensed boxers that lived and did it for a living, and some of them are still doing it for a living. So it's pretty cool to actually see these boxers involved in these games, because this is what draws attention to these boxing games, is the fighters. You know, for example, I was very excited to obviously play as, you know, Joe Louis, as I said, to be specific. You know, I did play him in Fight Night Champion. He was quite cool in there, but I really wanted to experience him in the Undisputed game as well, and I was really happy with it. And I'm still expecting more fighters though. There's a lot of other fighters that they need to put in this game. You know, I'm really focused on them, because a lot of people are forgetting, with the likes of like Floyd, George Foreman, you know, Monzon. If you don't know about Monzon, go type it up. You know, a really good fighter as well. Undefeated, I do believe. Mike Tyson as well. And I have been seeing players, I've seen people play as Tyson, but I feel like it's a created character. I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong. I've not really done any research regarding that, so I do apologize. Willie Pep, you know, I'm kind of like an old school person where, you know, if you bring like the old school boxers, you would really see what they were really good at, what these people are analyzing from them in terms of, you know, the attributes that we was discussing earlier. You know, it would be pretty cool to see what they were really good at. Also Manny Pacquiao as well, in his prime. It would be pretty cool to actually add him in the game. Robert Duran, I'm still waiting for him to come in this game, and I hopefully he does, because he was obviously one of the greatest fighters of all time. Chavez, you know, the list goes on. So I can honestly say that they've done a really good job in terms of adding all these boxes, and it's pretty cool to actually see them, you know, just playing as them. I just think it's pretty cool, because, you know, a lot of boxing games as well, they don't really offer a lot of fighters, and I know it's not their fault, but I feel like Still Interactive have done a really good job chasing these boxes down. Obviously not the deceased ones, but they more or less got approval of it, and chasing the ones that are currently alive and getting themselves in this game, because I can see they want to make this game as big as possible, and I feel like they can hopefully pull it off if they keep making tweaks and certain changes on what the audience asking for. So fingers crossed that happens. Also, the game does have the actual classes as well, which is pretty cool. They got the heavyweight, cruiser, light, middle, welterweight, and feather, and the list goes on. The only thing I would say regarding that is to add more boxes in these weight classes, because obviously if you pick certain classes, you know, there's not going to be many boxes, and probably not the boxes that you actually want to be. So obviously the heavyweight division's more or less filled, but a lot of people do target, like, you know, the Sugar Ray classes, which is like the middle and the light as well. So that's another good thing, I would say, but also just to add more boxes in these classes to actually uplift the game a bit. But I do feel like these guys will be doing that. As I said, they are still uploading boxes every time, and it's not just one boxer at a time. They're uploading like 3 to 4 each time, and I feel like that's pretty cool. Not only does Undisputed focus on, you know, the abilities, it also focuses on the attributes as well, which is pretty cool for each fighter that you do obtain. You know, so if you, for example, if you like Sugar Ray, you can expect such things like defense. Well, this is for all fighters anyway, but you will see in terms of the attributes, you can get, you know, a stats of their defense, which contains the chin resistance, body resistance, cuts, and obviously how well they can, you know, guard a punch. Also heart as well, which is courage and block health. Speed as well, the involvement of that is the agility, the movement speed, the punch speed and accuracy. Stamina, you know, you got the conditioning, you've got the recovery, you got the endurance as well. So all these things are actually involved, which is pretty cool because you can analyze this and say, all right, you know, whatever you favor, then you obviously go with that boxer, but you will more or less just go with the boxer that you kind of know anyway. However, but you got to be careful with that, because a lot of boxers that you do be in the game might not be the same as in person. So for example, I don't feel like Terence Crawford is the actual boxer he is on the Undisputed. I feel like his attributes should be way better than that, and more or less they should fix his stance, because he's obviously an orthodox and a southpaw, and it doesn't really allow you to utilize his abilities in terms of that. But we're not going to get into that yet. Also, we got the strength as well, which is the left and right, you know, hook or a punch, different types of punches, and you know how well you can punch in terms of the power, which is pretty cool, because obviously a lot of fighters might be stronger in the left and not the right, and vice versa. And you got the modifiers as well to obviously analyze the punches itself. And you got the vitality as well, you know, which is the head and body recovery. And all these things matter because, you know, when you're in the game, you got to realize what your fighter is more or less good at, what you're good with. You know, a lot of people do turn out to be like Canelo because of the stuff that he displays, and more or less he will kind of cover all these things. So just be aware of all these things. If you ask me if it's really effective in the game, it is. I can honestly say it is. However, as I said, I feel like some fighters do display these things, but they don't display these sort of attributes. But I would say majority of the characters do go off the attributes that they have in their profile. I just wanted to delve into, you know, a couple of editions that are coming out. So it's got the standard edition. It's also got the actual WBC edition, and we're going to delve into the WBC edition and see what it entails. And I'm going to give my honest opinion to say if it's actually worth it, because I'm a bit skeptical regarding the price, and I want to make sure you guys are getting your money's worth and give you my overall opinion on if it's actually worth it. So in terms of the WBC edition, the pack obviously includes, you know, a couple of new fighters such as Mungia, I can't pronounce his name, Progress, Rodriguez, Bivol, which is pretty cool. Oh, I'm looking forward to that. Caleb Plant, Julio Cesar Chavez, which I did actually mention that they really need him in the game. Also, it's got, who else were there? It's got, along with an alternative ring attire for each. And also it's got the Apparel pack, alternative ring attire for Clarissa Shields, Canelo, Usyk, Katie Taylor, Tyson Fury and Mia Khan. It's also got the Era pack where it says the 3 young fighter versions such as Tyson Fury 09, Canelo Alvarez 11 and Muhammad Ali 64. Also it's got play early, which is Undisputed 3 days early. And I've actually mentioned this because it's really important to make a decision in terms of which, you know, edition you do get. But before that, I do apologize if I said their names wrong. You know, I kind of like I've not really pronounced their names properly, some of the fighters that I've actually mentioned. But also you know, the WBC edition, which is coming out with the standard edition, and it's quite a heavy price. The standard edition is like, in the UK it's $49.99, whereas the WBC edition is $64.99. and if you ask me overall, in my opinion, if it's worth it, it is not at all. You know, I actually obtained this game for £25 at the time, and I near enough got many fighters already. I feel like these fighters should, I don't even know what they're trying to say. If you have to pay for that edition in order to get them fighters. If you do, then I don't know. I'm still like, I wouldn't go for it. You know, even with the young fighters as well, the fighters that are currently in the game are pretty cool. But if you like the new fighters such as like Caleb Plant and Bivol is one that, you know, really sparked my interest. But besides that, I feel like I could wait for the other ones. I just don't feel like it's worth the price. You know, I'm just saying that in comparison to what the game actually is now. You know, if the game's still in development, in my opinion, it's not really like a full polished game, because they're still doing major bugs. So you got to take that into consideration. Maybe if the game was fully polished, then them additions would make sense. So yeah, as I said, as a conclusion, if you ask me to actually get the edition, I would say no. I would say stick to standard edition. However, I still think the standard edition is still expensive. So if you do obtain a PC, I would definitely play it on PCs, because I still think that the price is still currently going on Steam for £25, I think. If it's gone up, then wow, I'll be really shocked if it's gone up, because even if it's not, you know, well, basically what it is I actually purchased it for 25, so, and it was the actual full game, so I'm not paying anymore. So even all the updates and stuff, I still actually paid the £25. So I do think it's a little cheeky that they've actually put up the price. I just feel like the overall the game is not worth that at all. Not at all. If you're talking about the graphics itself, the graphics are pretty cool in this game. I know a lot of people do purchase games for graphics. You know, I feel like this game's pretty much a next-gen looking boxing game for sure. You know, it does, as I said, the movement's quite good, but obviously there's a few things that are still missing, some huge things that can actually make this boxing game the boxing game, if that makes sense. And you know, even with like the damage system, there was some issues with the damage system before, where people used to use some type of punch that it can just knock you down. Like, that's happened to me quite a lot, and I found out that it was kind of like a cheat thing, and developers did catch up on it and actually changed it all, which was pretty smart, because a lot of people was complaining about it, and I was obviously one of them. Also, the sweating as well. The sweating's quite cool. You know, the boxers, you actually do this, you do see their sweat, and I'm a massive fan of graphics, so I feel like they've actually done a really good job in terms of the graphics itself. So in terms of the involvement in the game, you know, it's got the career mode, which was released not so long ago. I didn't delve myself much into the career mode, but it's pretty much straightforward. You're building your fighter, you know, you're on a journey, obviously choosing your cutman and manager, which is pretty cool as well. Not many games allow you to do so, and you're more or less just, you know, making your way, becoming a better fighter, just like an ordinary game, boxing game, like similar to like the UFC and stuff, that you just obviously enhance your character. Also, the multiplayer experience as well. As I said, I did say from the beginning, I started off pretty well. It was going really, really well, and I weren't even playing on a massive system, you know. Before, I was actually playing on like quite a low graphics card, to be honest, and I was doing really well. So imagine if I was doing on a really good graphics card. And then a lot of cheats started to come into the game, you know, and there's probably still cheats now. I do see people posting, you know, on YouTube about apparently there's still cheats, so you got to be careful in terms of the multiplayer experience. In my opinion, the leaderboards do not mean nothing at all. I've come across millions of fighters that show like 100, for example, you know, and they're not fighting like that. And feel like they're just doing that for the record. So if you do see a lot of people doing that and they're not playing up to standards, then they obviously are cheating. And I obviously need to ban these type of players in the games, because these are the type of people that are ruining the game. And I was obviously one of them that seen this and made a change, and it stopped me from, you know, playing online. If you do experience playing online, I would say just do unranked until you actually feel comfortable getting yourself involved with people who are ranked, because you will more or less kind of rank quick. I ranked really quick, and I went to Undisputed really fast, and I came across a few good opponents. I do believe a lot of people I came across shouldn't have beat me, and that's only due to poor connection, which I didn't mention as well. You will get a lot of times where you are being disconnected quite a lot. Sometimes a loss going on your record as well, and that's one other thing I really got frustrated with. I was not happy about it, and them things definitely need fixing, because I like to keep a good record. I don't know what my record is current. I think it's like 60 something and 11, something like that. Whereas before I was like 50 and 2, something like that. You know, it was I was that good, but I'm not too sure what it is now. But I will be testing it out again, giving you guys an update, keeping you guys updated regarding the game itself, because I actually want this boxing game to be for what it is in terms of the developers doing updates, you know, so shouts out to them. Also the stadiums as well, you got pretty cool stadiums. You can also fight in a gym, you can fight outside, you know, you get that whole atmosphere feeling where you can actually experience, you know, wherever you want to fight, and I feel like that's pretty cool. You can hear the crowd as well. I would say that this game should, you know, obtain a referee down the line just to be a bit more realistic, and also just some commentators as well. I feel like that will be pretty cool. It will kind of enhance, you know, the moment, the feeling of people actually playing the game. But then again, I feel like people more or less wouldn't want it due to the fact that they can have like a focus, more of a focus in the fight. But then again, you can always have a choice on toggling it on and off. So I feel like they should implement that in the game. I feel like I'd focus more with a commentator in terms of, you know, punches and stuff like that. I'm just trying to think all that realism in terms of a boxing game. So definitely a referee should be implemented, and also having the commentator as well. And I feel like that will be something good to actually introduce in the game. It might sound like I've praised this game a lot and I've not really said much negatives, you know, so we're going to have like a focused positive and negative in terms of this section. So we're going to start off with the positives first. I'm not going to delve too much into it, because I feel like throughout the game I've been saying some pointers and you guys can get what I'm saying in terms of the game itself. So I'm going to start off with the positives, which is the boxing mechanics. As I said, in terms of the movement, how it feels fluid, even though that there's a couple of more things that they can enhance, and I feel like they will do throughout the future as they are listening to the people that are playing the game. You know, I feel like their boxing mechanics is really good, and you can more have a focus on, you know, defeating your opponents and focusing on your player themselves in terms of their movement, their fluidness, and, you know, the punches and stuff. And I feel like they've done a really good job with that. It's something different. Also the licensed boxers as well, you know, they could have not got many of these boxers in the game, but fortunately we've got great boxers in the game that are currently still competing with the likes of obviously Tyson Fury, Usyk, and all these fighters, and we got the old school fighters as well. So I like the mix and blend, and I feel like that's pretty cool. That's what makes the game, because if you ain't got a specific fighter that's in the game, then it's not going to make sense. Also the graphics, as I did mention, the graphics are pretty much cool for a boxing game. Don't need to be excessive with the graphics. It's pretty much how we would want it, and it is next gen graphics, I would say. The realistic attribute system as well, you know, as I said, it does apply to majority of the boxers who display really good attributes. So that's obviously another thing to pinpoint in terms of the positives. We're going to move on to the negatives now, and I'm going to be really transparent in terms of the negatives and really truthful regarding yeah, the negatives. So I would say the matchmaking, you know, mainly people love to fight online in terms of boxing games, and if it's not up to scratch, then it's obviously going to be an issue. And I do honestly say that this game is still experiencing issues. As I said, I've not played it recently, but it's not been that long and I was still receiving issues, and people are still complaining about, you know, matchmaking issues and people more or less being disconnected from them, you know, in lobbies and stuff like that. I think they need to fix that as soon as possible, because you could be one of the greatest players on the game, which is the definition of myself. I'm not saying I was the greatest or anything, but I was a great player, and I had bad experience due to the fact that I couldn't really find, you know, good matchmaking. So they obviously need to fix that. Also, the AI as well can really be a put off. You know, what I mean by that is the AI can more or less be overpowered. They more or less know like your weak points, and they can just knock you out straight. You know, if you're practicing, you more or less want to, you know, enhance your skills in a better way. You know, a lot of people will see what I'm talking about in terms of this, and when you do come to the AI, you know, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. Also, the finishing in terms of certain boxers as well. You know, there's great finishers out there, and I keep pinpointing with the likes of Terence Crawford. I just feel like his finishing's not there. The finishing's a bit unrealistic, but I'm going to delve more into a negative in terms of that. The boxing sounds as well. I feel like the punches don't sound like how they're supposed to sound. You know exactly what I'm talking about when you play it. You know, I want it to more connect with how the sounds, you know, not even feel, just how it sounds. You know, that it's crazy because, you know, with certain games, a sound in a game can actually make the game. You know, for like like Call of Duty, if a good weapon sounds good, you more or less just have that better feeling of obtaining that weapon and just going with that weapon. And it's just the same I want for this boxing game as well. I just feel like the sounds in terms of the boxing punches just sound pretty much unrealistic. You don't sound like you're actually hitting the player. Also, the realism in terms of the knockouts and the counters. I feel like you can get countered and knocked out in like different ways, which is pretty much unrealistic. You know, even when your stamina is quite high, you're still getting knocked out for no apparent reason. I feel like they need to patch that as well, because that's becoming a big issue. Leading on to the animations as well, like certain things, like they just feel stiff. They feel like unnatural, you know, in terms of landing the punches and, you know, taking hits and stuff like that. I feel like they just need to fix all of that, stay focused on that, because they're all the things that I've realized that this game needs in terms of enhancing. And once they do that, then I think this game can go pretty far. I'm not going to grade it at all. I feel like it's still currently overall in development. I feel like this game does have potential. Could it be one of the best boxing games of all time? Why not? If they keep making updates, why not? Because a lot of people, this is what a lot of people want. They want updates and stuff and fixing things that people have been complaining about. So fingers crossed that they do so. And that's my overall review, deep dive on the Undisputed.